Are you ready? Check your reality.
The comments and opinions of this program may be considered offensive. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Uncommon Sense. I'm your host, Butch. In the studio, we have Billy. Say hi, Billy.
Hi!
Oh boy, we're in trouble. Anyway.
A little bit.
Today we're going to discuss a song that most of us have heard, but probably a few of us understand. And we're going to go over the topics of that today. And I'm going to give you a link in the description below. It points you right to the video that we are discussing today. This is a reactionary video. It's for educational purposes only. And I think you'll find it rather enlightening. What do you think?
I hope so. So we're going to be looking at the lyrics and the history behind American Pie by Don McClean.
And one of the things that I've noticed automatically off the top, and I've been listening to this for all my life pretty much, is that it's almost 9 minutes in length.
Yes.
And not only is it a song, he's telling a story. And those that wish to listen to it, are more apt to follow along with it because it is a story.
Yeah.
It has a beginning, a
what
middle, and an
gets
end.
a lot of people, I think, is the fact that he mixes fact with metaphor. Like, for people like my aunt, who grew up in the era that he's talking about, she's always said, it's such a weird song. It's strange to her.
Oh, okay.
Because, well, for one, it's not really her type of music, so I don't think she's ever fully engulfed in what the story was about.
Right.
Other than she does know it's something about Buddy Holly's death. But she's never really delved into the metaphors that he throws in there.
Right.
And the way he refers to the characters as, okay, things like the king, the queen, the jester, the devil, Satan.
Right.
These are all actual people in history.
Yeah.
Who he is speaking metaphorically about them using the terms king, queen, Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, even.
Right.
So it's confusing to some people.
Yeah.
They're like, well, this song doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, but I tell you what, if you watch this video, and like I said, we'll give a link in the description below, I find this video very informative.
Well, and it's funny, too, because you found this video because I had this idea that we should pick apart the lyrics.
Right.
And figure out the metaphors of the song.
Right.
And then you found this that kind of helps us put a visual to what we're trying to say.
Right. It gives us more of an understanding of what the message he was conveying.
A little bit more insight.
Yeah. And all it takes is a couple of ears to listen and a couple eyes to see.
Yeah. Before it became popular to put lyrics in album covers to, before YouTube for sure, and the internet where you could just look up the lyrics or find the music video with the lyrics or whatever, and you had to actually listen to the song over and over and over again, or physically handwrite the lyrics down.
Right. Some albums used to come with a lyric sheet for all the songs that were on the album.
And then some of them would only come with certain lyrics, like the lyrics of their hit songs, the ones that they planned to release.
Exactly.
Some of them didn't come with lyrics at all.
Yeah.
It's
like me, I didn't come with instructions at all.
Oh, I sure as heck didn't. And even if I did those instructions, they were wrong. They lied.
They lied. Someone put the slot A into bracket B kind of backwards there.
Missing a couple screws.
Back to the song.
Well, like you were saying, it's the longest ballad.
Right.
And it's unique in the fact that the ballad continues throughout the length of the song, all the way to the very end. Whereas there's songs that are really long that could be a ballad. However, there's like a 3-4 minute span in the middle that's nothing but instrumental.
Right.
All you got's the guitar and the drums and the whatever. Whereas this song, there are 6 verses. 6 actual full-length verses.
Right.
As well as the chorus.
Mm-hmm.
And no more time bridging from each section of the song than it takes to play a few chords. It's interesting in that fact that it's a ballad all the way through.
Yeah.
It's unique in that fact.
Yeah.
I mean,
this was at a time when a lot of songs told a story, and I miss those storyteller.
Well, actually,
artists.
this is the transition song between the era of virtually everything was a ballad
Right.
to gobbledygook that was about sex, drugs, and rock and roll and how much money you made.
Yeah, well, WAP and what's the other one?
I want to be a billionaire. Like, what? You got rich off making a song about being rich. That's cool now. Stupid.
But I think we need more songs like this to come back. And it's not because I want to go retro and all such. I just think we can have artists out there today, some really good artists that know how to sing, that don't use auto-tune, who can go ahead and sing songs like this.
You know what we need again?
What's that?
We need more Eric Claptons,
Oh,
Van
yeah.
Morrisons, and
Oh,
freaking Princes.
Yes.
I mean, when you're that amazing to the point that Eric Clapton was asked, what is it like being the greatest guitar player in the world? And he turns around and says, I don't know. Ask Prince.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Eric Clapton said that?
Yep.
But that's because Prince was an artist.
Yeah.
He was a true musician through and through, from the tip of his hair all the way to his toenails.
Yeah.
And he played everything that was on his albums. He wrote his own music. He was a true composer.
Yeah.
Like, he's like the Beethoven of our time.
Right.
In a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And true artists can see that.
Yeah.
Like Clapton.
And
Fogerty could never see that.
No.
And don't get me wrong, because CCR is like my favorite band of all time.
Right.
But as phenomenal of a music writer and guitar player as he was, Fogerty was one of the biggest jerks in music history.
Yes.
At least one of them. You know? Just so selfish. And he was all about money.
Yeah.
It wasn't about the art. It was about the money. I mean, and then you turn around and look at Dolly Parton.
Mm-hmm. We
When...
was discussing this earlier.
Yeah. We were comparing that kind of thing earlier. When Whitney redid her song, Dolly was in awe of Whitney.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And for someone that grew up listening to Dolly Parton, that was amazing. For me, I loved her version. Whitney's was
do.
obviously amazing,
Yeah, she had
but
a
Dolly's
good version.
was the original.
I think Dolly's version. Have you ever seen the video where Dolly sings it?
Yeah, and I've seen her sing it live too.
Right,
Like the first
and that's what
time
I'm
she
talking
sang it
about
live.
live.
Yeah.
And she was sitting there on this chair
Mm-hmm.
and effortlessly belted out
Oh yeah.
the song.
Yeah. And she has that sweet southern voice,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But for her to turn around and thank Whitney for paying homage to her song, and then adding to it by stating that Whitney blew her away, that she felt Whitney did a better job than
What
Dolly could have done.
Right.
Which I personally don't think is true, because they're both totally different artists,
Yeah, they're
with
different
different-
takes on the same song.
totally
And
different
and I like
voices.
both versions.
Yes. Honestly, I like both versions equally, because I feel like they both had the same heart in it.
Right.
And you can hear Whitney's appreciation for the song. It's not like nowadays when they, you know,
Yeah.
partially cover a song and then throw a bunch of crap rap in there that has nothing to do with what the original chorus said.
Oh, something like dun 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 dun.
Yeah, something like that. And you'll wonder why he was so upset.
Oh yeah.
You turned my masterpiece into what?
Into a.
I'm gonna ice you, baby. I'm gonna show you what a queen he really is in a minute.
That's right. But yeah, and for Vanilla Ice to sit there and say, "Oh no, it's not the same thing." One goes dun 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 dun, and the other one goes dun 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 dun.
And don't forget that slightly different. But that's not near the same as Fogerty turning around and getting mad at his former band members for making similar music.
Right. Well, I liked it when CCR, the band of CCR, without John Fogerty, actually took him to court and sued him
Yes.
over Old Man Down the Road, which is a rip-off of the song Fortunate Son.
Yeah.
And they played it, and the judge heard it, and he made a ruling on it. He goes, yeah, that's the same music in the background.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't do that. That's plagiarism.
But it's interesting how far it's come, because that happens all the time now. If you really listen to riffs in the background.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Cage the Elephant does the same riff as Green Day, but you put different lyrics over it, a totally different melody to the actual lyrics.
Right.
You don't even notice that riff in the background until it's pointed out to you.
Exactly.
Or, you know, when you're like me and that's all you listen to is the background music before the lyrics. I don't know why that's more important to me, but...
I like a good rhythm.
Yeah, because, shoot, if I like the music in the background, I'll find the instrumental and listen to it.
Yeah.
You know, like I did with Limp Bizkit. They were a pretty good band if you got rid of Fred Durst. And he ruined it.
Yes.
The band was great. I mean, they could rip that guitar and beat those drums like you wouldn't believe. Better, as good as any of the rest of them. They were right up there with the Chili Peppers and everybody else.
Oh, yeah.
Then you throw Fred Durst on top of it. Man, just shut your mouth.
You look better. You sound a lot better when you're silent.
Mm-hmm. Somebody put a sock in his mouth. Can we get a new singer, please? Anyone? Anyone?
How about you, little girl?
Right?
How old are you? 8? You'll do.
I'll bet you can sing better than he can. She comes up there with like some like Charlotte Church type crap. Like... that would be an interesting band.
We only have one requirement, is that you don't grab your junk mid-performance.
Right. And please, drummer, put on some clothes.
As a drummer, I used to be a drummer for a band. And as a drummer, I know it gets really hot.
It does.
Because...
oh my God, it does.
You are working so many muscles.
Dude,
so many
even in a
areas.
cool garage.
Right.
When my brother and my nephew and I used to play.
Right.
Banging on those drums in my sister's garage, dude. It would be cool out there.
Right.
Midwinter.
Yeah.
And you get sweaty.
Yeah.
Playing the drums.
Oh, yeah.
You know, some people, they think it's hard enough playing a full-size guitar, electric guitar. Those things are pretty heavy.
Right.
You know, and when you're really getting down on that thing, yeah, you get a little worked up, you get some sweat. Try being the drummer.
Yeah. Yeah, try and be the drummer. He's the one that's keeping the beat for everybody else.
And if he messes up, it fucks up the whole song.
Yeah.
The whole song. Even the lead guitarist can miss one riff and people won't notice.
Right.
The drummer messes up, everyone notices.
Yeah.
Everyone.
That's why one song still gives me goosebumps to this day, just because of the drums and the drum solo that is part of the song. In the Air Tonight by Phil Collins.
Yes, that's a good song, dude.
And if you made a mistake there, oh yeah, you would definitely know.
Another one that's up there in the musical god realm.
Right.
Phil Collins.
Phil Collins, yes.
Right? And even he is like, I bow to you, Prince. There's so many, though. I can't even name them all, but interviews that I've watched of rock stars over the years, and have even said they don't have to like Prince's music to appreciate and respect the man for his talent.
Exactly.
Funny side note, did you know that Prince was Jehovah's Witness?
Yeah.
Yeah. That always struck me as funny I heard that. But
did you know that Michael Jackson was raised that way too?
Yeah.
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 Very scary.
It is when you think about it, especially when you know the type of father that he had.
Oh, yeah.
It's weird. Mike Rowe, though. You know Mike Rowe from Dirty Jobs?
Yeah.
He's got this new show, a podcast. It's something like That's the Way I Heard It or something. Uh-huh. And he says in one of the episodes, too, basically, that it is an homage to Paul Harvey.
Right.
Of course, it's his own show. It's his own twist. But he wanted to bring that type of radio back, basically. And he grew up in that era. But he talks about going house to house with his dad as a kid, doing the Jehovah's Witness thing. It's kind of funny. He did this one, though, and I'm listening to it, and I'm going, is he talking about Alice Cooper? No. Nah, it can't be. And then closer got to the end, I kept doing it, and then finally I was like, no, man, he's definitely talking about Alice Cooper. I know it, because I listen to Cooper's show, and you learn odd things about the guy, about his past, whether it's personal or business or whatever. And the funny facts you find out about bands, like oh, that's why they weren't at that show. Whew, that would have been a good party.
Yeah.
But, you know, you find out some of that behind-the-scenes stuff. But anyways, he gets to the end of the story, and sure enough, I was all proud of myself. I'm like, ha! It was Cooper. Well, I feel good in my musical realm today.
Back when I was a younger man, I had a job, worked a job as a manager of a naturist resort, and you know what that is? A nudist resort.
A nudist? Okay.
Yeah. So I was managing this nudist resort, and I'm not going to mention names because we have a disclaimer, that we don't divulge clients' information at all, period. And I still hold that true, even though this has been 30-some years later. I still hold that true because I made a promise and a vow on that I would not disclose that information. So I've never have. But I can tell you that we've had a couple big names people that have rented space from us. And they brought up their own trailers and everything. They enjoyed the atmosphere, and especially the quad rides, because we go riding on quads out in the desert.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, nude.
Nude.
But it was fun. We all had fun.
Nice. It's funny, too, like, when you live in a very rural area, and you hear rumors that there's a famous rock star, or former famous rock star, that lives in this general area, you're like, no way. And then you see him in the grocery store.
Yeah.
And he's so basically dressed.
Oh, yeah.
Without all his get up from on stage. Especially when it's those that are like Kiss or something, that paints their face.
Right.
Or, Mudbang or something.
Yeah.
And then you find out their guitarist or their drummer or something, lives in your general rural vicinity. And you're like, no freaking way. And then you see them in the store and you're like, that's them. And you get this goofy grin on your face. And they look at you and they wink and nod and you're like, yeah. They're like, he knows that I know who he is.
I can't think of it.
But he's not going to say anything, and I'm not going to say anything because I know why he under wraps. Because I would be.
You know where Sprague's
if I was
at.
famous, I wouldn't want to be.
Right. You know where the town of Sprague's at.
Yeah.
In between Sprague and Chiloquin, there was some farmland and some ranch land and such like that. And I didn't know it, but a member of Three's Company actually had a ranch up there, and they enjoyed it. They enjoyed being treated just as a person instead of like, oh my God, it's you.
So on the other side of that same area,
right,
is, I believe it's a guitarist from a metal band that I won't mention.
Yes.
It's either the guitarist or the drummer, but that's what made me think of that kind of, because that type of thing has happened to people I know.
Right.
And you're like, no way. No way. But, there are a lot of people that they become famous or whatever, they do their thing. That's what they wanted.
Right.
They made it. They got to share their music with the world.
Right.
Now they grew up, they had their family, and it's time to go home. Now they play music for their family and friends. And only those that they truly love and trust know who they are.
Right. I have to give mad props to Harrison Ford. He is he's a phenomenal actor.
Yeah.
And he's done so many roles. And I think he does a great job with all of them.
Personally, a lot of people didn't like this.
Right.
I loved that he killed his character in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Because no one else has the right to play Han Solo.
Exactly.
No one.
Exactly. There's only one Han Solo.
Only one. But I also like that in that Solo movie that they made,
right,
the guy that they picked, he looks a lot like a young version
of Harrison.
And they didn't broadcast it out there who he was, really.
Right.
They didn't make a big deal of it. Harrison Ford is still Han Solo.
Yes.
That movie is simply homage to how awesome Han was. Did you ever see the interview, too, where he was like, yeah, Han shot first? I was like, yes! Somebody said it.
But no, I like him because he's a down-to-earth guy also. He's not that hard to figure out. He's really and I don't want to overuse it or downgrade it or downplay it by saying that he's a simple man, because he's not. He just likes simple life.
There's a difference between being a simple man and being a simpleton.
Yes.
Wanting that simple life.
Right. But that's, did you know he was a carpenter?
Yeah.
And that when he got, so many movies in and all like that, he bought a nice little ranch for himself and, a little wood shop area that he can do his carpentry skills. And he made all the cabinets in his house, from what I was told, too.
Nice.
So, yeah.
All right, so back to music. Back to Buddy Holly and everybody. So this song, it's really interesting because, like I was saying, there's a lot of metaphors. And so you kind of have to pick it apart with what you know to be fact from history and almost reverse weave it into what he was really trying to say. And the point that he was trying to get across, which was that when those three original idols passed away, and the fourth, the king of them, left to do his diligence for his country, the music died.
Yeah.
And not that, obviously we still have music.
Right.
But what he's saying is that the soul, the innocence, the true passion and love that used to be in music was gone.
The animation of it all. Now it's not even animated. It's not a story.
It doesn't have soul anymore.
It doesn't even have meaning.
No.
Nowadays.
You think WAP's got meaning?
No.
You think every Coyote Ugly experience out there got meaning? No. That's the opposite of meaning.
But no, Don McClean, he was an excellent storyteller. This ballad, The American Pie, reflects on the death of the Big Bopper, Buddy Holly, and
was it Ricky?
Ricky,
yeah.
What's his last name?
Valens.
Right.
It was Richie Valens.
Richie.
Why don't I always say Ricky?
But it was a sad ending because I think America lost a lot of soul and meaning in the music. Yeah. And it's sad to see one artist go, but to see three artists that were
at the same time.
Yeah, at the same time, all in their prime of the music that they were putting out.
Well, it's like, for my generation, the millennials, they experienced a similar thing in rap culture or in the hip-hop culture with the death of Lisa Left Eye and Aaliyah.
Yeah.
Which were a different time than Tupac. But again, in that generation, similar thing. Tupac and Biggie symbolized the roots of rap to a lot of people. They came from nothing and they became something.
Right.
Whereas now, all you hear them talk about is how much money they make.
Right.
Most of them didn't start from nothing and get there like Tupac and Biggie did.
Right.
Or even Ice Cube didn't have to go near as far as they did.
Well, a lot of these...
and not downplaying Ice Cube. I mean, honestly, I think he's a great guy. I have a lot of respect for him.
Yes.
And he's very outspoken. He's very much a free thinker. And I can't not respect someone that has their own mentality.
Right.
That has the courage and the balls to stand up and say, no, I don't agree with that. That's stupid.
Exactly.
And to point out
and to withdraw from something.
Yes. Like Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm not a celebrity anymore. Fuck y'all. You're stupid.
If a celebrity means this, then yeah, I'm not a celebrity.
No. He's like, no, I'm not a celebrity. I'm just Shaquille.
Yep. But give it a listen to the song American Pie. Watch the video and you'll understand a lot more about where he got the facts and information for the song. Okay, so
let's kind of pick apart these. I do have them typed up. Just a second.
Okay.
Let me get back in my computer. Alright, so the first verse says, "A long, long time ago, I can still remember how that music used to make me smile. And I knew that if I had my chance, I could make those people dance, and maybe they'd be happy for a while. But February made me shiver. With every paper I deliver, bad news on the doorstep, I couldn't take one more step. I can't remember if I cried when I read about his widowed bride. Something touched me deep inside the day the music died." So bye-bye, Miss American Pie. I drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. Them good old boys were drinking whiskey and rye, singing, "This'll be the day that I die. This'll be the day that I die." That term there, too, the good old boys. That's something that isn't covered in the one that we found.
Right.
But that term, the good old boys, always it usually boils down to that group of, like, politicians. You know what I'm saying? They come across as good old American boys.
Right.
And really, they are corrupt.
Yes.
Behind that curtain.
Yes.
And I think he is referring to some of that because of everything that happened in that era. And then he does refer later to the president.
Right.
And we all know that there was corruption there.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
I mean, just from what he said before he died, we know that there was corruption.
Right.
And his plan was to save us all from it.
Yeah.
And bring it down. To crush the very being of them in his hands and scatter them in the winds. He actually said words very close to that.
Right.
About a certain organization with 3 letters that we know of. And any questions around his death became conspiracy theory.
Right. I'm sorry.
That's when that term was coined.
Yeah. Is when JFK was shot.
Yep.
And it's believed, a lot of people believe, and it's actually been shown that they were aware the triple letter alphabet soup name. They were aware of it. Not
only that, I watched Valuetainment. Have you ever watched his channel?
No.
Patrick something. He's from the Middle East somewhere. He's super smart, dude. He's awesome. Anyways, he does all kinds of interviews, and he's interviewed, dude, a ton of, like, old school gangsters and stuff.
Right.
And he's actually coming out with a series called The Mafia States of America. But he did that interview I was talking about with Sammy the Bull Garvano.
Right.
That guy he's interesting to listen to, and his story's crazy. But anyways, he interviewed this other guy, and I can't remember who he was because I just saw a clip. But he interviewed it was a black dude from Chicago that was, pretty active and everything back then. It was he'd gone to the White House, and he'd spent, I think he was like training for Secret Service or something like that. Don't quote me on that because I don't know.
Right.
But he spent right around a month with the president and the first lady.
Yeah.
And he heard things while he was there from Secret Service agents.
Right.
Saying, heard right out of their mouths that the president needed to be shot.
Right.
He told somebody what he had heard. And then after he was back in Chicago, he was trying to keep up on it and everything. And I one thing I remember, he said the day that he heard that the president had died, basically he just was crushed inside.
Right.
He's like, I told someone that this was going to happen.
Yeah.
And no one did anything to take the proper steps of preventing it. And the Secret Service guy that was Jackie's guy, that protected her and the kids,
right?
He was like a brother to Jackie. And in his interview, it's really interesting to watch his too, because, of course, he's been asked over the years many times whether or not there was a relationship between him and Jackie. And you can see it in his face. It breaks his heart that people even think that.
Yeah.
She was like a little sister to him. And he would have given everything to protect her, those kids, and her husband.
Right.
They were family.
Yeah.
And so when that happened, he was the one guy that jumped on the car. When you watch that old video, that's him.
Right.
And they had gotten pretty well away from the crowds. The crowds were diminishing. And right around they came around that corner.
Right.
He heard the shot, but with the echo, he said it didn't register right away as a gunshot. It wasn't until it hit the president.
Right.
And then we get into how many shooters was there, the magic bullet, and all of that. Because he's watching the crowd, he's scanning the buildings and everything, and then right as he looks over, right as the president grabs his throat. Right. But he's like in a weird position. His hands are like up at his collarbone, basically. His head's down, and now he's leaning toward his wife. And he basically falls right up against Jackie. And in that split second that all this is happening, it hits him. Crap! That was a bullet! And he runs, jumps on the back of the car. Meanwhile, poor Jackie is leaning over the back,
Right.
trying to grab pieces of her husband's brain and put it back in his head.
Yeah.
I mean, and right as dude is running up is when the second bullet hits.
Yeah.
And it projects it out. He ended up with brain matter on his suit,
Wow.
is how far it threw it.
Right.
And that happens right as he's jumping on the back of the car. He basically heard that bullet pass his head.
Wow.
I mean...
Dang. I hate to be in his shoes.
Yeah. So they are the king and queen.
Right.
But also, you've got Elvis and...
I can't remember her name.
What's her name?
I can't remember her name now. She played in the Johnny. It was that Frankie and Johnny.
Yeah.
With Elvis. It was his co-star. And she was a co-star of his in a lot of his movies.
Mm-hmm. So you got two sets of king and queen.
Right.
But let's go on with the lyrics here before I get way too ahead on myself on that. Okay, so verse 2 says... Actually, no, let's backtrack. Verse 1 is his own personal account of when it happened.
Right.
And how it hit him when he found out,
yeah.
how it affected him personally when he found out that Buddy Holly died. And imagine being somebody close to those guys.
Yeah.
Well, like I was telling you about Waylon Jennings.
Right.
He was close to Buddy Holly.
Right.
And he made that statement, something, and it was supposed to be a joke. It wasn't, it was one of those lighthearted things you say because you don't think it's ever going to happen to someone that you care about. And he made a statement in jest about the plane going down. Like, if the plane doesn't go down, I'll see you there.
Right.
Because they were headed to the same location.
Right.
But from two different places in two different manners. Jennings was
On
on
the road.
wheel and Holly was flying.
Right.
And then he gets there and finds out what happened. He never forgave himself. Never truly did. I think he
And
really tried because he stated that obviously it wasn't my fault. But the fact that I said that to my friend and then that's how he died. You never forget that.
know.
And you never underestimate the power of your own words after that.
Right.
It's just crazy.
So on the next verse, what we got?
Did you write the book of love? And do you have faith in God above if the Bible tells you so? Do you believe in rock and roll? Can music save your mortal soul? And can you teach me how to dance real slow? Well, I know that you're in love with him, 'cause I saw you dancing in the gym. You both kicked off your shoes, and I dig those rhythm and blues. I was a lonely teenage bronco buck with a pink carnation and a pickup truck, but I knew I was out of luck the day the music died. And then, of course, the chorus plays again. I started singing Bye Bye Miss American Pie.
Right. What that's referring to is, a personal experience of his, that he's conveying out there.
Mm-hmm.
He's also telling the story behind it.
I also think that he's not talking about necessarily being in love with a girl. I think love, in this sense, he's metaphorically looking at music as using music as the girl. Or no, he's using music as the boy, is what I'm trying to say. So, he knew she was in love with him. Well, him isn't another guy. Him is rock and roll.
Right.
The original rock and roll.
Right. Buddy Holly rock and roll.
Buddy Holly, Elvis Presley style.
Yeah. Rhythm and
The
blues.
rhythm and blues original rock and roll. The one
Right.
that had the soul in it.
Yes.
But it was okay that she loved him. Because we all had a good time. We all danced.
Right.
We kicked off our shoes. And like you were saying earlier, that was a tradition back in the day because they didn't want to scuff the varnished floors. It was much harder to keep them up back then.
Right.
And so they would kick their shoes off and dance in their socks and bare feet.
Yeah, and that's where the term sock hop came from.
Yep. Going to the sock hop. So Buddy Holly and them, their plane crash happened in, what was it, 59?
59.
Yeah.
February 3rd.
It was 3rd, huh?
I believe so.
Okay. It was February.
I believe it is the 3rd.
Okay. So in February of 59, and now he says, now for 10 years, we've been on our own, and moss grows fat on a rolling stone, but that's not how it used to be. Let's pick apart that one line.
Okay.
So we're 10 years away. 59, now where are we? 1969.
Right.
Right?
And who's topping the Billboard charts back then? Good old Rolling Stones.
Yep. So the moss grows fat on the rolling stone. Explain that one to the audience.
Alright, moss, if you've ever seen moss on a stone, it covers it, it kind of cushions it, it makes it bigger than what it actually is. but it makes it a simpler ride if you're, going downhill. It's easier on the rock because it's got that cushion.
Yeah.
It's something that puts weight or mass onto you. It shows that your wealth or whatever you want to see it as.
So now, Mr. Rolling Stone Bob Dylan, he's basically saying that things were padded for him.
Right.
And let's remember, this is the era where England took over.
Yeah, the British invasion.
Damn the Beatles.
Well, it wasn't just the Beatles, it was other British groups too.
Obviously.
But, they came on in and they filled that void for us.
They did. But that's, like I was saying earlier when we were discussing the idea, that was the transition era of rock and roll.
Right.
Where it went from
rock
being about
to folk,
the music and the soul, to being about the money and the women.
Right.
And then we get the sex, drugs, rock and roll. That starts coming in there right around late 60s, all into the 70s, and we see where it's progressed from here, or from there. So, next line. So now here we are in 1969. When the Jester sang for the king and queen in a coat he borrowed from James Dean, and a voice that came from you and me. And while the king was looking down, the Jester stole his thorny crown. The courtroom was adjourned. Now verdict was returned. And while Lenin read a book on Marx, the quartet practiced in the park, and we sang, what is that word? Because I didn't type it.
I can't see
Dirges.
Dirges.
And we sang Dirges in the dark the day the music died. Okay, so we've already covered, we're in 1969, Dylan and the Rolling Stones and pretty much everybody else from England is running the rock and roll world now.
Right.
Okay, and in this song, he's referring to Dylan as the Jester.
Yep.
Which is also an interesting personal insight of his. He apparently saw Dylan as a joke.
Yeah.
He was just a funny puppet of some sort, brought out to entertain the people in our morning of true rock and roll.
Right.
So he sees him as the Jester, performing for who? The President and the First Lady.
Right.
In the same jacket, similar style as James Dean. And James Dean was from that era of soul.
Yep.
That we all remember, even to this day. We look back on the 50s. Kids that were born in 2000 look back on the 50s and go, oh man, America was so nice and sweet back then. For that split second that they're not trying to wokeify everything with racism. But, there was a certain soul about America. Yes, there was segregation. Things were different. But at the same time, so much of that has been hyped up. When my aunt was growing up in that day, she went to the South to visit some family. Right. We have some family over in the South. And she was worried about going back there. Wow. Because of the things that she had heard.
Right.
Of the way it was back there. That everything was so segregated. Yeah. And that whites and blacks were always fighting and this and that. So she was almost expecting as a teenager going in there that it was going to be like a war zone. Nobody got along. If you were black, you hated whites. If you were white, you hated blacks. And she got there, it was not even close. People mingled just almost like we do today.
Right.
And there was some oddities, but no one made a huge deal out of it. Not like the way they do now. Yes, they started the protests back then. They were fighting for civil rights and all of that. However, their approach on it wasn't near like these progressives today. No. It wasn't even the same spectrum.
No, they had sit-ins where they would just go and they knew they could get in there and just sit down until they was dragged out of the place that were there performing their sit-ins. It was called a peaceful protest because nobody went out and started fires.
Because they actually did it Gandhi style.
Right.
Gandhi style. Instead of Gundam style. Yeah, get out of here, Korea. Get out of here. Just the North. The South, they're pretty cool. Have you seen some of those dance battles though between the Koreans and the Americans when they're over there?
Yeah.
There's some funny shit, dude. I love watching those. Some of them are really long, but anyways, okay. So we got the Jester covered. So while Lenin is reading the book of Marx, that line is interesting to me because he's specifically talking about John Lennon.
Yep.
But, in a weird way, even if he didn't mean it this way,
It's referring to...
it refers to Lenin.
Yeah. From Russia.
Yes. And then with everything that we're talking about today and everything going on in the world, not just in America, but obviously the world is focused on America. The fact that he put that in there is just awesome to me.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's proving my personal point that Marxism has been trying to leak into our society
Oh, yeah.
longer than most of us have been alive.
Yep.
You know, I'm talking to like older people in my family that are from that prior to the baby boomers.
Right, the era.
You know, they grew up in the era of Buddy Holly.
Right.
They remember this kind of stuff and remember having slightly communist or socialistic teachers who were pushed out because no one wanted their ideology.
Right.
It was bad for everyone for so many reasons.
Oh, yeah.
And for him to point it out in this song that here's Lenin over here, Mr. famous British guy, reading the book of Marx and convincing all of these young people at the time that
communism
was
was
the answer to all our problems.
Yep.
So that intrigued me always with that part there. So you got your good old boys drinking whiskey and rye, you know, good old politicians, and they're laughing their way through the whole thing. Look, we got a whole new set of propaganda, guys. We got rid of the heart and soul, and now we can manipulate them in every way we want. Just bring in the British and we'll take care of this. Okay, so verse 4. Helter skelter, in a summer swelter, the birds flew off for the fallout shelter, 8 miles high and falling fast. That one line alone is interesting, because helter skelter, you've got, you know, what's his name? Charles
Manson.
So you got the whole Charles Manson helter skelter thing, but there's interesting links between that and true Nazism.
Yeah.
So that is interesting to me as well. In a summer swelter, it happened during that summer. The birds, the band, the birds, flew off for the fallout shelter.
On one of their album covers, and I can't remember which one it is, but it's in the video.
Yeah.
It shows you that there's a fallout shelter down in the lower left-hand corner.
Yeah, it's on their album cover, and it's one of those little things down in the bottom corner, and it says fallout shelter, and it's even written sideways.
Yeah.
So they're 8 miles high and falling fast, and landed foul on the grass being
weed, marijuana.
The players tried for a forward pass with the Jester on the sidelines in a cast.
That was when Bob Dylan got injured and wasn't performing, because he was like the spokesperson, the martyr, if you would, for folk music, and that was supposed to have replaced rock and roll. He
was, in a sense, metaphorically, their quarterback. Right. So now he's broke. He's over here on the sidelines. The other players are trying to move forward, you know, make themselves famous while he's over here. It didn't work out so well for them.
Yep.
And now halftime air is Sweet Perfume. What year is this again?
This is about 1969.
1969? We're still in 1969 because we're talking about Manson.
And we're talking about marijuana and the smell of sweet perfume.
So halftime is metaphor for Woodstock.
Yep.
So he's using that to symbolize Woodstock. Sweet perfume, we know what that means. While the sergeants played a marching tune.
And that would be the Beatles, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
We all got up to dance, but we never got the chance.
Right.
He's talking about the protest.
Yeah.
They were all there for it.
Right.
And a lot thanks to the Beatles.
Right.
Which gives me mixed feelings on a lot of the protests that happened back then.
Right.
Just like I have mixed feelings on things today. So they were all there to, you know, dance the sergeant's dance, shall we say. But they never got that chance because what happened during that protest?
Well, we're talking, I think he's specifically referring to the Berkeley protest. And during the Berkeley protest, that's when they called in the National Guard.
And it says, because the players tried to take the field, the marching band refused to yield. Do you recall what was revealed the day the music died?
Well,
so the players being the people.
The protesters.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, I'm sorry. No, the players. I'm sorry. The players being the National Guard.
National Guard. Okay.
The marching band being the protesters. That's what I was trying to say. Sorry.
Okay.
So, do you recall what happened the day the music died, or what was revealed? What was revealed was that we were not as free as we thought we were. And to a lot of people, this may sound insane.
Right. It exposed a lot of
it did.
Corruption within the government at that time, and which direction we were leaning in.
Well, and then
we
you
were
have
heading towards a communist regime here in the U.S., but we shut that down.
Well, and then you have the events that all happened so quick after that. I mean, that next 10 years was weird, from 59 to 69.
Yes.
What year was it, 63?
For JFK?
Yeah, it was 63, wasn't
it? 64, I thought.
Okay, maybe it was 64. So 63, 64.
Right, somewhere around that area.
Is when he was shot.
Yep.
And that's just 4 to 5 years after Buddy Holly died.
Right.
Everything that happened in between there that led up to the assassination. And then you had everything going on with the protests and Martin Luther King.
Yep. Martin Luther King passed away in 1968.
Yep.
Fatal gunshot wound.
Yep. So in 69, everything had already gone down. You know, in 69, we're looking at the aftermath of what we today remember of the 60s.
Right.
And he's putting it into personal account. So the corruption of our country and the manipulation of the media is now coming to fruition. Like, they're really getting their chance to do it now.
Right.
You know, in a full-blown way that they've never been able to do it before. So verse 5. And there we were all in one place, a generation lost in space.
Right, that's during the space race.
With no time left to start again. So come on, Jack be nimble, Jack be quick. Jack Flash sat on a candlestick, 'cause fire is the devil's only friend. And as I watched him on the stage, my hands were clenched in fists of rage. No angel born in hell could break that Satan's spell. And as the planes climb high into the night to light the sacrificial rite, I saw Satan laughing with delight the day the music died.
Right. And do you remember what they're referring to there?
I can't remember what well, Jack be nimble, part of it is a conglomeration, because obviously they're talking a little bit about Jack Kennedy.
Yep.
But the devil in here, I think he's referring to a couple of things.
How music has changed from its pure and innocence form over to a more satanic and dark and evil form.
Manipulating and sadistic form that it was becoming. It was in this weird transition of once being something for the free spirit, and now for someone who lives in the dark.
Right.
And fully embraces the dark.
Yeah.
You know.
Well,
and I can't say I'm against a lot of the music, because obviously I love rock and roll.
Yes.
I mean, I got more band t-shirts than people should have. But, you know, just a little less than I have Spider-Man shirts. But, but at the same time, I can see where he's going. I understand where his mindset is on this, because prior to this, music was full of soul. There was an innocence about it. And then that totally changed to where it's getting ritualistic. It's almost like a cult.
Yes. Everyone has to talk about pimping and hoes and WAP and
it really kind of started back then with some of this stuff. And they're talking about their money. They're breaking their guitars on stage, burning the guitars on stage in a strange sacrificial manner. Like, almost with a religious aspect to it. And creating this almost cultish mindset with their fans, where their fans are now actually worshiping them.
Right.
Not just completely fanatic like they were with Elvis, which obviously they were, you know, and that kind of sparked something, you know, oh look, we can use this. But to the point that people are actually worshiping them. And then he says, no angel born in hell could break that Satan's spell.
Right.
And they're referring to the murder of that girl.
Yep.
Or was it a girl?
It was a girl.
I thought it was a girl. I knew someone was stabbed.
Yep. At a concert.
Wasn't it a Beatles concert?
No, it was a Rolling Stones concert.
Oh, it was a Rolling Stones concert. Okay. It was one of the two.
Rolling Stones concert that actually had the Hells Angels there. And it turned out that a lot of Hells Angels repeatedly stabbed this girl at the concert.
Yeah.
And so
But then he says, well, he talks about the sacrificial rite, and then he says, I saw Satan laughing with delight.
Yeah.
And again, I think he's referring to Dylan.
Well, it could be Dylan or it could be the Rolling Stones that he's referring
Rolling
to.
Stones in general. Yeah. Right. The whole band.
Right, the whole band, because when they got caught, with all the drugs and paraphernalia and
they basically got
people passed out and
slap on the wrist.
Right. And so they just laughed about it because they knew they were too big.
They already knew they had that cushion, that moss that he was talking about. Nothing was going to happen. They knew they were scot-free.
Yep.
And then verse 6, he says, I met a girl who sang the blues and asked her for some happy news. She just smiled and turned away. Janis Joplin.
Because she sang the blues for and people are going to probably call me racist for saying this, but for a white girl, she had some soul in her.
Oh, yeah, dude. She did, though. Well, to me, it's like Adele these days.
Yeah.
And she's getting dogged left and right for one thing or another. Heaven forbid she wanted to get healthier and live a healthier lifestyle.
Right. So
now she's fat-phobic.
Yeah.
Stupid. These fat-phobia people are so retarded. Fat people don't owe the world anything, but the world needs to make 20-foot wide chairs because I don't know how to not eat a whole pizza in one sitting. Somebody shoot her, please, and put the rest of us out of our misery. And I'm not one to talk about people like that, but for real, when you think the world has to revolve around the fact that you are fat because you can't stop the spoon from entering your mouth.
Right.
You can't control your muscles enough to say, no, I'm done. Oh, I feel like my esophagus is full of steak. Maybe I should stop eating.
Yeah.
Just because you don't have self-control doesn't mean the rest of the world needs to accompany your lack of self-control.
Kowtow to your whims.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyways, back to Adele. She has that amazing, soulful voice, you know? And, yeah, honestly, for a white girl, that's saying something.
Oh, yeah.
Because
usually when...
and, okay, call it stereotypical racist, I don't give... whatever you want to call it. But so many black people have a voice that just...
exuberates soul.
It penetrates right to the source.
Yeah, but the problem is that a lot of people, they say that soul and that rhythm and blues, or sing the blues itself came from a soulful experience that you might have had during your life. Well, for Janis Joplin to sing the blues the way she did, and knowing the trials and tribulations that she had growing up, everyone always telling her that she's ugly, she'll never admit to anything, and then for her to shine as big as she did.
Yeah, and she was like, I don't have to be Marilyn Monroe to be famous.
That's right.
I don't even have to be Joan Jett. I don't have to be that cool. Because Joan Jett was a badass, I'm just saying. She was hot.
And she's gay.
I know.
Yeah. Well, and that's where Meatloaf comes in. Well, 2 out of 3. 2
out of 3. Okay, so he went down to the sacred store where I heard the music years before, but the man there said the music wouldn't play. In the streets the children screamed, the lovers cried, and the poets dreamed, but not a word was spoken. The church bells were broken, and the 3 men I admire most, the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, they caught the last train for the coast the day the music died. And he again has a double reference here.
Right.
He's symbolizing people that were important to him
at that time. Up in his life.
And he, whether you think it's blasphemous or not, he uses them, or uses the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost to represent who those people were to society.
Yeah, because it wasn't a spiritual thing or a religious thing. It was more of a spiritual thing.
Yeah.
To actually listen to the music, to dance to the music, to laugh, to sing. That's what it was supposed to be about. freedom to do what you wanted to
And
do.
I think that's why these days there's so few songs that really hit me. And when they do, I will listen to that song like it's going out of style.
Yeah.
And I think it's a weird subconscious thing, like, because they don't make music like this anymore.
Right.
When am I going to hear another song that talks to me the way this one did?
Right.
You know?
Well, the way he starts it off is he went to the sacred store.
Mm-hmm. The record store.
The record store. That's where everyone went to get their music.
Mm-hmm.
And the time that he went back to a record store, they didn't play the music anymore. The music that he grew up with.
Mm-hmm.
They had new albums of folk and,
Mm-hmm.
you know, Rolling Stones.
And there was that period of time, too, where it was harder to find older stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it just kind of went, bye.
Yeah.
And they virtually weren't selling it anymore. It was hard to get the older albums.
Yep.
And it almost wasn't even until they came out with CDs that they started revamping some of that stuff.
Yep. And put it all in digital format
Yep.
instead of analog.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, let's wrap this up with that question that's at the end of that other video. If this song was written today, what significant historical facts would be added? What else would we be soulfully singing about that made us, along the same lines?
Right.
Bye bye, Miss American Pie. The things that happened in our lifetime,
Right.
even just in my lifetime, that made us feel like the America we knew was gone.
Right.
That a part of her was dead now.
Yeah. And it comes back to our innocence.
Mm-hmm.
We had that innocence, and now that
innocent
is gone.
mindset.
Right.
Because we, again, had fallen into this lie that we could trust our government.
Yep.
Which, it kind of came with Reagan and everything. And I have mixed feelings on Reagan as someone that grew up as a millennial.
Right.
My family adored Reagan.
Right.
And growing up, I adored Reagan.
Mm.
And we even watched his movies. You know what I mean? But my grandma was really into Westerns and stuff.
Right.
So she remembered him being an actor, and she adored him. My grandpa even adored him. So we were a Reagan family, right? But then as I grow up and I'm learning more, and specifically, for me, when it comes to the war on drugs,
Right.
I have such a hard time. Because, to me, the war on drugs, again, is just another propaganda-filled nonsense bag of bullshit.
Right. It's just another avenue of control for
Yes.
the government to take.
Yep. I'm one that, I really don't believe in prohibition of
Right.
virtually any kind.
Right.
If people are going to be stupid, they're going to be stupid. We can't
Yeah.
stop them from being stupid.
Yeah, and we shouldn't have to put warning labels
I was
on
just going to say
everything.
that. I said that in the store one day. My dad and I were walking around this corner. I was like, yeah, well, I'm one of those people that say take warning labels off of everything and let nature wean out the weak or whatever. And this lady, physically turned her body and looked at me like, how dare you say such a thing? And I'm going, you're just mad because your children wouldn't be alive right now.
Yeah.
Because they eat Tide Pods or some stupid thing.
iPods.
iPods, too. We don't know. There are all kinds of weird shit these days. Snorting condoms.
Oh, I know.
What? But, moments where this generation has figured it out. Or where those pieces of the curtain have been slowly being peeled back.
Right.
Whether it's the war on drugs, or the Two Towers, or Bill Clinton in general, or Obama's face.
Right.
It's slowly being peeled back, the corruption, and how much worse the corruption has got.
Yep.
And we're at a whole different level of corruption than they even were back then.
Yes, we are.
So,
we actually have fewer rights now than what we did before we became a country.
mm-hmm. Yep. Before we fought the English to have the freedom that we did. I mean, we were fighting for freedom against England.
Right.
And yet, under their monarchy, we, as their citizens, had more rights
Yep.
than we do as quote-unquote free Americans today.
Exactly. And if you don't believe us, look it up.
We used to be able to collect rainwater.
Can't do that anymore.
No, not without, a permission slip.
Yep.
A hall pass. Gotta have this to go to the bathroom, too.
You know, they had a thing, and it happened here within the last few years, that this guy over in the valley he was collecting rainwater.
Mm-hmm.
He had a little pond, and he was stocking it with fish and what have you,
Yeah.
and everything. But it's on his property. There's an indentation of where a pond was, so he just left it, and it would collect the rainwater.
Yeah.
He actually got fined and was told to remove the pond from his property because he's not able to collect the rainwater.
Wow. Well, it's like, how many different cities or states can you not grow your own vegetables?
I know.
At least in parts of Florida, it's like that.
Yep.
If not all of Florida. You can't grow your own food?
Right. That's ridiculous.
What?
I mean, what happened to us as Americans?
Can you imagine people from even the 1800s thinking of our laws today?
Right.
What would they have thought even in the early 1900s when they banned marijuana?
Right.
They banned the growing of cannabis and hemp? They would be appalled back then.
Oh, yeah.
Are you serious? We use this to make everything.
Yeah.
And we smoke it after a long, hard day's work. Why? Because my muscles are sore. And otherwise I might be a little cranky. You know? Like, it's just appalling to me.
Oh, yeah.
The rights that we don't have anymore. And yet we are fed so much crap that we still think we're free.
Yeah.
Yet we have to be told this every 30 seconds.
Yeah. And now the statement is, just comply and we can go back to normal.
Yeah, just comply.
And I'm sorry.
Oh, so you guys remember, like, back in 2020 when you all thought we were crazy because the mask mandate started and we're like, the next thing's going to be a vaccine mandate. Oh, no, that's just crazy. That'll never happen. You remember that?
Yeah.
I remember that, too.
See, we were called conspiracy theorists back then.
Yeah. Dude, I've been called a conspiracy theorist since I was 12.
Well, I say it can't be a conspiracy theory if it's true.
Exactly. I am not a conspiracy theorist. I'm a conspiracy factualist.
That's right.
And actually, every true quote-unquote conspiracy theorist is a conspiracy factualist. Why? Because we filter through what is now conspiracy theory, because there's so much other bullshit thrown in there to confuse us,
Yep.
that we have to actually filter through it, do extra research, find out what is fact, what is truth, and what is, I don't know, because I can't find a source.
Right.
So you push out the non-sourced crap, keep what's factual.
Right.
I am not a conspiracy theorist. I'm a conspiracy factualist. I am searching through the theory to find the facts.
Yeah.
Which also makes me a scientist. Oh.
All right, so to end this episode, listen to the song, listen to the words, watch the video. It will give you a whole nother insight into what the song means. And
there needs to also be a change in mindset around music.
Right.
And that's something that everyone has to do personally. Find music that speaks to your soul.
Right.
And go back. Find old music that speaks to your soul. Virtually anything prior 1959.
Yep.
If it speaks to your soul, that's the music you need.
Mm-hmm.
Because everything in this world is part of our diet.
Yeah.
Our diet is not just what we eat. It is everything that we consume. Everything we see. Everything we watch, we listen to, we read. That is part of our diet. Mm-hmm. Our overall diet of our mind, body, and soul.
Right.
And if you are feeding your body crap, you're going to get fat. You feed your mind crap, you're going to get stupid. You feed your soul crap, and you lose it.
Exactly.
It diminishes into nothing. You starve your soul to death.
Right. Only thing I would add, and what I'd like to say, is if, say you're in a small town or even a large city, and there's a guy selling hot dogs on the corner.
Mm-hmm.
And you go up to get a hot dog, and they're really good hot dogs. But after every time you get one, the guy behind the counter there, behind the cart, he punches you in your eye.
Right.
if that happens, do you go back to them because it's a good hot dog?
Yeah.
Or do you just not buy the hot dog because you don't like to be insulted?
Yeah.
And
You'd probably rather go down to the 7-Eleven and get a hot dog because at least the lady behind the counter is nice to you.
right. And that's what I'm saying is that there's more avenues instead of just one that you can take. More roads than you could ever imagine.
And you know, it's gotten to a point with the music industry. If someone says something, if one of those people, celebrities, they call themselves, they say something that completely contradicts what you believe,
Right.
stop.
Yeah, stop right there.
Stop right there.
And-
Nope, I'm done. I'm going this way. You know?
We were taught right from wrong, and if you come across something that you feel is wrong, well, then stop patronizing that artist, that celebrity.
Well, and especially you got
or
these
whoever.
days, these music artists that release crap music anyways.
Yeah.
It's like, why does anybody even listen to this? You know, and then I meet people that are younger than me that are like, you know, Gen Z, just out of high school, that they don't have a range of music.
No.
Like, I know this one kid, before he met me and my roommate, he listened to virtually nothing but modern day rap.
Oh, jeez.
He started hanging out with us, and his music taste has changed phenomenally. He almost doesn't even listen to rap anymore. And the rap he does listen to has meaning.
Right.
It ain't just talking about big booties and shaking that thing in your face.
Yep.
You know, they're talking about real life.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, let's go back to like Whitey Ford and shit like that even.
Oh, yeah.
You know? But I mean, he's listening to old school rock now and even some old country because it spoke to him.
Yeah.
And he was like, wait, this? I mean, he even said at one point something to the effect of he never knew what music could be. Like, he had never literally felt a soul or, you know, felt music in his soul.
Yeah.
Like, that to me is just mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And massively depressing.
Yeah,
That we
why would
are
you-
raising a generation of children that don't feel the music.
Right.
Then what kind of fucking music are we making if you can't feel it?
Exactly. And we're talking about inside of yourself.
Yeah.
You know, in your heart, in your soul.
It doesn't make you want to get physical.
Right. Not feeling it as far as, oh, I got, 15-inch subs and a 1500-watt amp and...
Yeah.
Yeah. No. What they're talking
Yeah.
about is inside. What
Well, and then
touches
what they're
you.
talking about, the only thing it makes you feel is horny.
Right. I like those songs.
Let's get it on. Okay, that's a whole different generation.
Let's
Hey, that's
get
when
it on.
that's when that shit was actually romantic, though.
Oh, yeah.
Like
That was smooth.
they might have been using all the innuendos and crap, but shit, dude, they had feeling to it. They actually, you know, that was when love was still a thing. You still treated your woman to a nice night out and thanked her for making you dinner.
Yeah. It was like, thanks for making me dinner. I'll make you breakfast in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that type of thing.
Or her making him dinner was thanking him for the fact that he chopped 4 cords of wood today. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. If he's bringing home the bacon, if he's paying the bills, if he's on top of, giving you a house to live in and everything else, is to appreciate one another to the point of mutual love.
So we're going to end it here. There's this rapper. He's an old school rapper. KRS-One.
Yep.
You know him?
Yep.
Yeah. That's why we're friends. So, he made a statement at one point in time. And the clip of this, I was so excited when I saw it. It's in that series I was telling you about, Species with Amnesia.
Right.
Where he says, this stuff today that they're making, this is little boy stuff.
Right.
Little boy stuff, he says. They're talking about cars and girls and drugs. That's little boy stuff. That ain't man stuff. A real man, before he walks out on that stage, his concern is, how are my kids today?
Right.
What are my kids doing? Are they okay? Are my kids fed? Are they clothed? Do they have good in their life?
Right. Do
they feel loved?
Yeah.
Do they know that I care? Have I spent significant time with my kids? He's going on that line.
Right.
You know, that kind of thing.
Right.
And then he says, and after I worry about my kids, then I worry about my woman.
Right.
Is my woman good? Is she okay? Does she feel loved?
Right.
Have I told her today how beautiful she is?
Right.
I mean, he goes through this whole spiel of stuff like that and lays it down to that's what's wrong with music today.
Mm.
These are boys. They are not men.
Right. It's like obligations.
Yeah.
And
a real man has accepted his responsibility as a man.
Right.
Just like a real woman, accepts her responsibilities as a woman.
Right.
You are not a child anymore.
No.
And you don't have to believe in the Bible or agree with everything it says to understand this statement. When I become a man, I set aside my childish thoughts.
Right.
And my childish ways.
Right.
The same goes for women.
Yep.
Okay? When we become adults, we can still keep that free spirit and soul. We will always have that.
Right.
However, the childish ways, meaning the things we do in immaturity because we didn't know any better.
Right.
We set those aside. We push those away. And we take responsibility for ourselves, our family,
Yep.
and our actions.
That's right.
And I think that we have lost that, strangely, due to music.
Yeah. Well, the music, to movies, to TV, to news reports. To...
The invention of the television destroyed us all.
Well, that's all we have for you today here at Uncommon Sense. I'm your host, Butch, and...
Billy!
And don't forget to leave a comment down below. We'll answer to it as quickly as we can. And, again, check out the video. I hope it opens you up to a whole new world of what a ballad is and what a storyteller is. And on that note, be good to yourself.
Be safe, be free, and stand alone if you have to.
Damn it, Billy. Give me back my liquor.